Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to unpack the inner world of a mind that doesn't exactly run on standard software. We're going to explore how it was built, and maybe more importantly, how to actually operate it.
Okay, let's just dive right into this because wow. If you've ever felt like your mind is absolutely brilliant but also unbelievably chaotic, this analogy probably feels a little too real. You know, it's a system that can be incredibly fast and creative, but it's also one where the start menu just vanishes and a simple task can feel impossible.
So, if this isn't the standard software everyone else seems to be running, what is it? Well, the source material gives it a name that I think perfectly captures this feeling, the Anomalous Operating System, or AOS for short. Let's take a look at its core logic.
Now, this is absolutely crucial. The core idea here is that this system isn't broken. It was just wired differently for a very specific purpose. And that last part, adaptation to a high-stress environment, well, that's the key that unlocks this entire architecture. This comparison really gets to the heart of the daily conflict, doesn't it? A standard system prioritizes tasks based on importance. But for the AOS, the main driver is interest. A task's deadline, its consequences. Honestly, they mean almost nothing if it isn't fascinating or an immediate five-alarm crisis. The system runs on passion or panic, and there's very little in between.
So the big question is, how does an operating system like this get coded in the first place? Well, the source material traces it all the way back to its development environment, a childhood where the brain literally had to adapt just to survive. This description is so powerful. We're talking about a childhood defined by constant, unpredictable family tension. This wasn't a stable, quiet place to grow. It was a chronic state of stress, just this persistent noise that a developing brain had to learn to navigate 24/7.
So in this toxic dynamic, you have a provocative father and an emotionally absent mother. This meant the child's own feelings were just constantly ignored. They had to learn how to become invisible, really, like a silent navigator in a storm of their parents' conflict, where their own needs just got lost in all that noise. And this brings us to a really radical idea. Many of the traits we might see as defects are actually powerful adaptations. You see, when your world is chaotic, your brain learns to be chaotic to match it. It rewires itself to anticipate threats from every possible direction.
This constant state of alert is called hypervigilance. I mean, just imagine having to listen to every conversation in a room at once, just so you know where the next argument is coming from. Your brain gets incredibly good at paying attention to everything, and that scattered focus, that becomes its default setting. Now, this kind of rewiring creates some pretty unique features. Sure, they can be challenging in a stable, quiet world, but they were built with a purpose. Let's look at one of the most intense ones, rejection-sensitive dysphoria. This is basically the system's threat detector dialed up to the absolute maximum. It was trained to see danger in the tiniest emotional shifts from other people. And to understand just how intense this is, the source describes it not as an overreaction, but this is a neurological reality for the user. It is not a choice. It's a genuine, overwhelming feeling of pain and shame that can be triggered by what other people might see as a totally minor comment. It explains why a simple piece of feedback can launch a massive internal crisis. And here is a perfect example of how that threat detector misinterprets data. The AOS brain doesn't just hear the words, "fix this typo." No, it scans for the subtext, for any potential disapproval, and it immediately escalates it into a catastrophic attack on your entire worth and your security. You know, these contradictions, they're not hypocrisy. They're actually the logical output of a system that runs on interest and urgency, not consistency. A task is ignored until panic finally makes it interesting. A random fact is remembered because it sparked a little bit of dopamine 5 years ago. And ordering a pizza? Boring, structured task. Moving to a new continent? A novel, incredibly exciting adventure. It all makes sense under AOS logic. So, an operating system that was developed in a hostile environment, it's going to need a pretty powerful firewall, right? The AOS develops these sophisticated but incredibly draining security protocols to protect its vulnerable core.
Now, these aren't deceptive tricks. They are fully automated defense mechanisms. That tough persona, that's armor. The intellectual sparring, that's a preemptive strike to control the narrative. And the chameleon protocol is a way to just blend in, to reduce the chances of making a social mistake that could trigger that third-degree burn.
This is exactly why a person with AOS often just can't accept a compliment. Their system is literally designed to see it as a threat. The internal logic goes something like this. If I accept this praise, expectations are going to rise. If I fail to meet them, the rejection will be even more painful.
so it's just safer to reject the praise now.
So if you can't just fix this system, how in the world do you live with it? This brings us to the philosopher Popper Pater, whose work, according to our source, offers a path forward, not through fixing, but through understanding.
Popper's insight here is that the real work isn't about trying to change the external world to fit your system. It's about understanding and organizing your internal world first. The chaos we often feel on the outside, it's just a reflection of the chaos within.
And this gets to the real heart of it, shifting from self-criticism to self-curiosity. As the source material's author found, this means accepting his past not as some trauma to be pitied, but as the very set of conditions that built him. The goal isn't to erase the code, it's to finally understand what it was written for.
Look, this isn't about forcing yourself to be different. The evening review is just about watching the movie of your day without judgment. Acceptance means admitting your flaws without shame. And conscious practice means building new habits, not because you're broken, but because you're creating the internal conditions where your unique system can finally run at its best.
And ultimately, this brings everything down to one single factor: context. Understanding your own manual means learning which environments your system is actually built for. The same features that cause it to crash and burn when you're filing taxes can make it absolutely excel when you're solving a complex crisis or coming up with a groundbreaking new idea.
So, which is it? System error or superpower? Well, the answer is, it's both. The challenge, and really the opportunity, isn't to fix the errors, but to accept the entire system, its chaotic origins, its painful features, and its brilliant paradoxes. It's all about learning how to aim its unique superpowers at the right targets. Thank you for joining this explainer.